In the entire human physiology, the organ that surprises and baffles me most, personally asking, that is human brain. And we have read in detail a lot about various organs which are present in human body, how do they function, what is their basic function, what are the tissue arrangements, and in the case of brain we are going to do the same. But one thing is quite interesting about brain, because you might have observed or you would have felt that all the activities except for a few regulations, everything is ultimately controlled by brain. So this is in a way master organ that controls the body, that regulates the body, and surprisingly we cannot regulate it. It has to go on its own way. Like if you are sitting to study, at times your brain can go to some other place. So it controls the body functions, but it is not under our control in some ways. It is under our conscious control and subconscious. That is not part of biological studies. What we are going to study over here is a small introduction to the structure of brain, that how this particular organ is organized, what is the tissue organization, what are the components of the organ, and for that we need to see the structure of brain. Now when we study a structure, an organ basically of this complexity or this level, we first of all try to understand what are the embryological derivatives of that particular organ. So first thing is going to be the introduction towards embryological parts which have given rise to the parts of the brain. So in a way you will get familiar with the parts of the brain which you might be knowing earlier as well, but you have to remember them according to that part of the embryo from which they got derived. So first of all we have these over here, 1, 2 and 3, these are the embryological names. First is prosencephalon of the embryo. It develops to form thalamus and hypothalamus in the brain. Now all these names are parts of the brain. Now when we study brain in totality, we see that it is divided into 3 parts. Our entire brain is divided into 3 parts. Those 3 parts are forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain in simplest terms, but they have biological terms as well, and for understanding those terms we have to see that from where they have been derived. This part is to be remembered by heart, that the prosencephalon of the embryo, it gives rise to the thalamus and hypothalamus. Now hypothalamus, we would study what is the role of hypothalamus in our body, and for thalamus you have to remember it is something like you are having a wire or a thread and you have the base and then you roll the entire thread over it. Thalamus is something like that. You can say it is a central pivotal point of the brain around which entire neurons and the longitudinal fissures and the wrinkled structure of the brain is surrounded. Basically that is thalamus. Now thalamus and hypothalamus, they are derived from prosencephalon, and collectively we call thalamus and hypothalamus as diencephalon. So whenever a reference of diencephalon is being given, that means we are referring towards thalamus and the hypothalamus part of the brain. Then this prosencephalon, apart from diencephalon which comes from it, which gets derived, it also gives rise to the cerebral cortex. Now whenever this term would come, whatever your brain thinks, whatever the thinking process is going in your brain, whatever emotions and whatever processes we are discussing which are beyond our capability and of understanding, not any other capability, beyond our capability of understanding that how those things are working, there must be some memory center in the brain, that is in this cerebral cortex. It is the site of all those functions, emotions and rest of the things. Corpus striatum, hippocampus and amygdala. So you get to know few more names. These 4 parts, they form the telencephalon, and both diencephalon and telencephalon, they form forebrain. Alright. So the first component of the brain is the forebrain. From where it was derived? It was derived from the embryological part of prosencephalon. It gave rise to diencephalon and telencephalon. Now this diencephalon, it has thalamus and hypothalamus in an adult's brain, and this telencephalon has the cerebral cortex which is divided into 2 hemispheres. We have corpus striatum, we have hippocampus and amygdala which form the forebrain. Coming to the midbrain, that is derived from mesencephalon. Alright. Now you will be surprised to know that when you study in detail, this midbrain is the simplest of all. It does not have much of parts like this. Those parts are not designated some sort of function that they must be performing. It is sort of connection between the forebrain and the hindbrain. So this part, rhombencephalon, that would form the hindbrain. that is the posterior part of the brain, which would be in connection with the spinal cord. So spinal cord is another important thing that is present, and you know that both spinal cord and brain, they form the central nervous system. Rest of the nervous system, it reports to these two parts, and where the information is to be processed comes from the nerves to the central nervous system. Now last part of the brain is the hindbrain, that is connected to spinal cord, as I told you. It is derived from rhombencephalon of the embryonic stage. Now after saying all this, I would tell you it's better you remember these names instead of these, because these names are not of that much importance because they are gone, embryological stages they are. What is important, brain itself is quite an important organ. What is important to learn is these parts and where they are located. Now medulla, pons and cerebellum, they form the hindbrain, and medulla individually is classified as myelencephalon, not mesencephalon. Mesencephalon is the midbrain's embryological presence that is seen in embryo. Then there is pons and cerebellum, and for that we have the term metencephalon. So these myelencephalon and metencephalon both form the hindbrain. These are the parts of the brain, and we have learnt it from the point of view of the embryological parts that from which they have been derived. Now the next thing is basically the structure of human brain, what it would be all about. The structure of human brain would be, you must have seen a walnut, the walnuts that we consume. Our brain is somewhat like this, but a pinkish walnut it would be. Now what does brain look like? You must have seen somewhere or else the structure of brain, that some caricature that resembles the brain, and easiest example is a walnut. It's better you take it out right now, pause this video, take a walnut and see if what the brain would look like. The brain would look like a walnut, a pinkish walnut. There is lot of presence of wrinkles, as many as wrinkles as you can think of. So many wrinkles are present in the brain. But starting from our head, supposedly you have to dissect somebody's head and take out brain from that, which is quite gross to listen, but supposedly you have a head and you have to take out the brain from that. After removing the skull bones, what you would see in the brain would be 3 layers known as meninges. Now these meninges are protective layers around the brain, which protect the brain and at the same time are responsible for formation of cerebrospinal fluid. What is cerebrospinal fluid? That is part of next lesson. For now, what you have to remember is that the protective covering would be meninges. They are named as dura mater, arachnoid and pia mater. Now the names are quite descriptive in themselves. For that you need to know what the names mean. This dura is it means hard, and this matter word is mother. So these must be Latin words which have these meanings. So this is the outermost layer is dura mater, which is hard connective tissue, that is 2 layers of hard connective tissue. It prevents the brain from any type of shock and movement which could break the blood vessels, alright, or damage the neurons. Then the next is arachnoid. Now this word arachnoid has been used, or you might have heard it in reference of spiders. So arachnoid basically means spider web. So what comes to my mind and what should come to your mind is that the spider web is something like there would be a reticulate formation of connective tissue only, but this layer would be somewhat reticulate in its structure, and the innermost is the pia mater, which is continuous with the brain surface. It is thin connective tissue and it is in continuity with the brain surface, which is highly wrinkled. So these are the 3 layers which are present. These are the protective layers which are present. So what comes to my mind is that it would be something like this: double layer of dura mater, then some reticulate formation would be over here, right, that is of connective tissue, and then there would be lot of convulsion that would be present. This sort of formation continuous with the brain surface, that would be pia mater. So we have dura, then we have arachnoid, and innermost would be pia mater. So these are the meninges. Now, to conclude, a few more facts about brain in introduction is that the brain, again repetition, it appears like a walnut. Second thing, that you in a walnut itself you see a fissure is present. So our brain is divided into two hemispheres, broadly categorized, by a longitudinal fissure which is present right in the center of the brain. Again, I would say that if this is the walnut, how, just excuse my diagrammatic skills, we do use projector descriptions for this. So this is supposedly the brain. So there is a fissure that is present. Supposedly I am holding a brain like this and I am observing it like this, it would appear something like this. This particular thing is longitudinal fissure, and there is so much wrinkling present, wrinkled part. This would be the longitudinal fissure, alright, this part, and then this is one hemisphere and this is the other hemisphere which has cerebral cortex. They have dense neural tissue which is present, which joins the two cerebral hemispheres, that is known as corpus callosum. So this word you have to remember, that what is the purpose, what is corpus callosum? Of course you will point towards the structure that is present in the brain. It is formed of neurons and it is present in order to join the two hemispheres, connection between the two hemispheres of the brain, that is corpus callosum. And in the end, a few more facts, that brain is formed till 90% of the brain is formed by the age of 6 years, remaining of it is completed, the formation of brain, that is completed by 14 years of the age. There are as many as 2 to the power 15, 2 multiplied by 10 to the power 15 nervous interactions. Now you can make it out how many interactions are present in our brain, what a master organ it is. Now this accounts to as much as 2 million billions. Now 2 million billion nervous interactions are present inside our brain. Apart from that, as many as trillion of neuroglial cells are present which take up the nourishment. That's why whenever we are not having enough food, there is a lot of dizziness that comes in the brain. That is because your neuroglial cells are starving. They need energy and they are responsible for the nourishment of these many neurons, billions of neurons which are present inside our brain. And the ultimate functioning of the brain is by the neurons, and neurons carry the information, they store the information. Memorizing part is also done by brain, then perceiving whatever stimulus is present. So in a way this is a master organ and it controls entire physiology in its own special way.